Conservatives blame liberals and purposely create division and tribal divisions. Conservatives and conservative influencers are the largest ecosystem on the political landscape nationally and internationally. And within this video, I will stick with federal conservatives of Canada, provincial conservatives like Pierre Poilievre, Scott Moe, Daniel Smith, and Doug Ford in particular, and as well in the United States under Donald Trump. So here we have a situation where those politicians are a tribe, and they continually want to expand their tribe, their ideology, and in particular, conservative ideology. So now let's look at July 30th, 2026. And this is one of the great conservative buzzwords: report on crime. Report on crime. Who's at fault for this crime? Let's see what's going on here.
Thanks for joining us today on a beautiful day in Toronto in what should be a safe park in the GTA, but after 11 years of the Liberals' catch and release policies, crime has exploded.
So here you have it right now. Right off the bat, they're programming you. The Liberals catch and release crime. Right at the very beginning. Let's watch it again. People don't seem to understand what's going on.
Should be a safe park in the GTA, but after 11 years of the Liberals' catch and release policies, crime has exploded across here in the GTA, across Peel region. Last week, Stats Canada revealed that violent crime...
Okay, so now they're going to back up that statement with Stats Canada. So they're going to actually conflate their position and create a truth out of partial truth and mostly non-truths. And this is the reality. This is how you get brainwashed through the left and right frontal lobes into the upper cortex, and you just do not realize it. Marketing geniuses have figured that out a long time ago. So now you know conservative ideology creates their own truths based on their own ideology and constructs of that ideology. I want to make sure you clearly understand before we go into the next step to show you how you're being used, abused for the purpose of a few people.
Park in the GTA, but after 11 years of the Liberals' catch and release policies, crime has exploded across here in the GTA, across Peel region. Last week, Stats Canada revealed that violent crime has more than doubled in Peel since 2015. Extortion is up almost 500%, sexual assaults nearly 79%, and motor vehicle theft 179% over that same period. Communities like this that once felt safe, raising a family, taking your kids to the park, enjoying a day out, have become places that you're scared to walk through.
So here they create a situation of fear. And what happens when you're in a state of fear? Your central nervous system goes into fight and flight mode, and you become emotional. You become emotionally attached. You can't think for yourself, not for the most part. So how can that be possible? Well, here, let me show it to you. This is a federal conservative government. They're in a province, which is Ontario, which is a conservative government under Doug Ford. So crime's out of hand, been going on since 2015. So let's look at the Ontario approach. Ontario taking tough on crime approach to protect communities from criminals. This is April 28, 2025. The Ontario government is proposing changes to improve public safety by getting tough on crime and putting violent repeat offenders behind bars. Yeah, but this is a conservative government. Weren't these guys blaming the Liberals? How's that possible? How is that possible? A safer Ontario. Protecting Ontario neighborhoods is working to protect our neighborhoods by tackling auto theft, clearing encampments. This encampments thing is another issue. Shutting down drug injection sites. Not very humanizing, are they? Building more jails and strengthening the bail system so criminals stay behind bars. Building more jails, strengthening the bail system. So, everybody's blaming the federal Liberals. But here we have Ontario. Seems like Ontario is the problem with itself. So the Conservative government, how can you put a Conservative federal government in power that doesn't realize where the real issues are and what needs to be done to fix it? So here we are still in Ontario, going to criminal court. Learn about the criminal court process. If you are charged, it's all done through the Ontario Court of Justice. If you are a witness, criminal appeals, if you are surety, young people, if you do not have a lawyer, if you are charged with a criminal offense. So everybody wants to blame the federal Liberals. But here it is. It's a Conservative government, Doug Ford, and believe it or not, Conservatives will bicker with Conservatives. But you, the general public, are being played. You're being played. Conservative ideology, let's be honest now, you just witnessed it right here and now. You cannot rebut or provide any rebuttal to counter-argue that claim because it's right there. Conservative ideology creates their own truths based on their own ideology and constructs they create to support that ideology. So they conflate facts because they're using Stats Canada and the Stats Canada reporting as far as crime, but they're blaming the federal Liberals for the last 10 years. Meanwhile, in Ontario since 2018, you've had a Conservative government. So you're ingesting truths. You're ingesting the Conservative tribal ideology as a truth without questioning what is the truth. In other words, not using discernment to verify if that is an ingested truth based on what somebody tells you like this here, or a truth predicated on fact. You have the ability to use your own discernment to differentiate between an ingested truth, which could be a false truth, or a truth predicated on fact. What do you want to do? But here's the deal. Conservative ideology does not concern itself with fact. They wish to use their messaging system to create division between a conservative ideology and a liberal ideology. This is the construct and what they create. You fall for it. And in this video, I'm proving to you in real time how this is done and how you, the general public, are being manipulated. So now I'm going to move to a conservative, Jasmine Lane. This is a conservative influencer. Many of them around. There you go. Now let's look at what her YouTube page is. 93% are from the left. CSIS report proves Trump right. Prove Trump right? Do you see what Trump is doing around the world? He's going to go down in history as the worst president in the history of the United States. Now, here's another one. You asked for this. Canada's biggest mistake just got exposed by Trump's new tariff. A tariff is economic warfare against Canada, and you're a conservative looking out for your own country and you're accepting a tariff? You're being, come on. Here's another one. Expect betrayal. Trump just dismantled years of globalist plans. All these constructs are being created within the conservative ecosystem, and you fall for it. You don't do any research, no research whatsoever. So let's look at this video. I'm going to go to this video because here you see it here over and over again. This is the best way to manipulate people. Trump says Canada needs us. We need a reality check. This is promoting Daniel Smith. They will regret this. Viral confession leaves the left. So the left is now the liberal ideology. So now you got right and left. So conservatives on the right, now they put the liberals on the left. And this is what they've been doing for a long time. And then what they'll do is create a situation where they'll further divide you because, oh, it's woke ideology. You're woke. Well, folks, would you rather be awake or do you want to sleepwalk? And can't put it in a more simplistic term than that. Do you want to walk being awake and cognitively aware of your surroundings? Or you're just going to put blinders on like a buggy at a harness racing track and just mow straight ahead? Who knows what's that? Doesn't matter if the lights are red, green, you're just going straight ahead. You just want to win the race. And that's where we're at. Now let's look at this one. Here we go. Jasmine Lane. 3 days ago. J.D. Vance, 40 years of betrayal created this. Really? His argument is going viral. Well, let's see what J.D. Vance has to say here in the now. Fasten your seatbelts, folks.
Of bipartisan leaders selling our industrial base to foreign countries, allowing low-wage immigrants to come in and compete with Americans for jobs by destroying...
Oh, now it's the immigration card that he's playing. This is another favorite conservative scare tactic, immigration. And your mind is going to push back because of what you've witnessed or heard over time. You're just on autopilot. You're going to push back. Immigration's a real problem. We got to tighten our borders. Right. You don't even know what's going on with immigration, but you heard something, and therefore you've taken that as a truth.
The foundation of the middle class.
Be careful what you believe and be careful what you wish for as a result of that belief, because we now have the evidence that I'm pretty sure they didn't want you to know about. It's funny how this keeps being a pattern, hey? Carney made some pretty big claims today until, of course, you fact check them, which we will do. I'm Jasmine Lane. Like this video, it's helping a lot in the algorithm right now. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. Comment your thoughts down below. Share it, hype it, all of that stuff. It really does help a lot. Donald Trump has said that Canada's leaders are nasty. And yes, of course, Canadians are melting down, but he may be onto something that a lot of people avoid talking about because they're scared.
Things are getting worse, 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 and worse because of you liberals who keep on supporting these damn people in power for the liberals. Us conservatives haven't been in power for a decade, okay? That's why Canada's f***ed up. Why don't we give it a try?
Okay, let me just straighten out this argument right here. This is not fact. This problem with affordability and various other factors within the macroeconomic system in North America and all Western democracies been created because of neoclassical economic theory, Milton Friedman economic theory. The same theory that Pierre Poilievre, a conservative, wants to use to fix the affordability problem. But you have to ask the question, if he's using what created the problem to fix the problem, why would you give the conservatives or Pierre Poilievre a chance in government? Just does not make any sense.
Why don't we just give it a shot? Give it a shot, vote conservatives in, and let's see if something changes. Because clearly you liberals don't know what the f*** is happening. You guys don't know what to do.
She's definitely not wrong. But I don't think that that's actually the real full story. And if we stop there, we miss the thing that actually matters a lot, that can help us in changing the outcome of our country, right? Because this isn't a story of people who are just so dumb that they keep voting for failure. It is so much darker and so much more deliberate than that. It is how tribal identity gets built, who benefits from keeping you in one, which foreign adversaries are also playing on that because they go through social media and the news too, and why the people running that play never ever seem to pay the price for it, get blamed for it, or even be held accountable for not calling it out.
How does that work?
Well, the way that it works, and this is exactly what El Sayed and these limousine socialists are actually selling to the American people. They're not promising you industry. They're not promising you good jobs. They're not promising self-sufficiency and a good industrial economy. What they're promising is redistribution. Again, we've seen this in Europe and in the United States.
We're not seeing industrialization. He's giving you a boondoggle of bullshit. Because since 1944, the Americans created the economic system we're in right now. They are the people that promoted neoclassical economics. Albert White, that was the negotiator for, or Harry White, the negotiator for the Americans at Bretton Woods after the Second World War, because the Americans had a surplus, made the US dollar the reserve currency. He used that by using leverage, because during the Second and First World Wars, America did not have their landscape bombed, literally did not have their landscape bombed, but they created an industrial complex to provide military armaments for the First World War and the Second World War in exchange for gold. They held Europe up for ransom. We'll help you. We got an industrial complex that will create military armaments for you, but we need gold, and you're going to pay us gold, and we'll help you that way. And with that leverage, the American currency became the reserve currency. But little known, yes, because the Americans had trade surpluses, it was to their benefit. When any company, governments are in corporations after all. So when the U.S. became what they designated as the leaders of the free world, they created the rules, and then they changed the rules when they found it did not benefit them. And why it did not benefit them is because when you're the reserve currency and you start doing trade deficits, it changes the macroeconomic relationship with every country you deal with. And so the Americans changed the rules. They pulled away from the gold standard. They also will sanction you if you don't play by their rules, and many other factors, because they have the SWIFT system and the system in place, and they use that to manipulate for their benefit, and they've been doing this since 1944. Let's go back to the video.
United States. The idea that you can build real prosperity by just redistributing assets from one group to another group, that's not how you build real prosperity. You have to actually sustain the foundation of the economy. That is what the President of the United States has worked us towards for the past 18 months. It's going to continue to pay dividends. But I think, again, Laura, this is an important point. A lot of Americans look at this rising tide of socialism and say, how did we get here? We got here by 40 years of bipartisan leaders selling our industrial base to foreign countries, allowing low-wage immigrants to come in and compete with Americans for jobs, by destroying the foundation of the middle.
Boy, oh boy, this guy's talking a good story, isn't he? Let's look at something here. Let's look at this here. This is within this past week. This guy's had a year and a half. Trump's had a year and a half. He's still blaming Biden for everything, but let's look at this graph. There's 2021, end of COVID. All the Biden years. Trump took over here, guess what? Right off the bat. Negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 18 months that he's in power has been negative growth. So whatever he's doing is not working. Look at what Biden did from 2020 up to the turnover. The comparatives are right there in black and white. They spin it many ways, but let's look at the facts. This 33,000 job loss in July is very recent.
Middle class, that's how you got socialism. How you fix that problem is by doubling down on Donald Trump's economic nationalism.
Nationalism. Herbert Hoover tried it in the 1930s. It didn't work then. Why is it going to work now? Economic warfare on the world? Your neighbors like Canada that have stood by you through thick and thin? Treat them like crap? Instead, you embrace the Russians? As a matter of fact, in the summer when you had an avian flu issue, did you get eggs from Canada? No. You flew 500,000 eggs in from Russia. Really?
Not going back to the way we've done things for the past 40 years.
It's failed everywhere it's tried.
It's failed everywhere it's tried, and it always leads to socialism. It always leads exactly where we are. The only way to get out of it is to double down on the economics of the past 18 months.
It doesn't matter which division is manufactured or the purpose of it, because the effect is actually identical. Foreign regimes want North America weak so that they can rise to the occasion. And governments lean into this exact same framing because when disagreement is treated as some sort of a moral failing instead of a policy difference, when you're not just wrong, you're a bigot, you're a threat.
No, America's made themselves weak by wanting to be the reserve currency of the world. And because of that, it naturally evolves into a financial sector's business versus an industrial business, because of trade deficits increase the value of the US dollar, and therefore that's why your whole economy works to a financial services sector economy. That's been the case from the British pound, and the UK was the empire of the world. Historically, it's shown you what happens. This is what's happened with America. You can point the finger otherwise, but you could actually fix the problem. And here's the deal. The Americans created the problem because they wanted an advantage. Once that advantage did not turn out to be an advantage, and they find out, oh, oops, now they just get their clubs out of, just like baseball bats out of a closet, and they're going to start clubbing people. And they start clubbing with terrorists. Or they go to Venezuela, take the leader out and take over their resources. Naturally, strangle Cuba because Cuba is their next target. They release a drug lord, which was the guy that ran Honduras. They released him because they want him to manipulate Colombia so that they can rule Colombia also. So the Americans play some dirty, nasty tricks. Really goes against what you've been told about the leaders of the free world. Is that how leaders act? Back to the video.
That you're an enemy of the vulnerable, whatever the hell it is. It actually does the exact same work a foreign influence operation is trying to do, because it keeps people tribal. That's kind of the whole point, right? Is that it keeps them fighting with each other instead of checking whether or not the people in charge are actually delivering results.
We're hearing from different premiers, including conservative premiers in Canada, about language about how it's like almost a new day with the Carney government compared to what they had to go through with the Trudeau government, particularly on resource development and things like the major projects, or talking about federal intervention and things like Churchill Falls, which is a difficult deal that might not get done. Does that kind of make it difficult for you in terms of how you relate to your conservative premiers across the country and getting your message across?
Well, I would encourage people to look at the results rather than the announcements. So what are the actual results so far after a year and a half of Mark Carney? He set up this major projects office to approve projects at record speed. Do you know how many projects it's permitted? 0. Here we are a year in. There are 500 projects waiting for federal approval. 500 projects that would pay paychecks to Canadian workers, generate revenues for schools and hospitals, make our economy more self-reliant. All Mark Carney needs to do is get out of the way, and yet we continue to wait. He has pledged to increase the industrial carbon tax 6 times higher than it is today. 6 times higher on Canadian steel, aluminum, cement, concrete, fertilizer production, all costs that will be passed on in lower wages and higher costs for Canadians. Everything Mark Carney has talked about on resources has been an illusion. What we need to do is get him out of the way and off the backs of our resource sector so that our investors can invest, our builders can build, and our workers can work. That means repealing C-69, the anti-pipeline law, repealing C-48, the ban on shipping off the West Coast, get rid of the industrial carbon tax, turn over exclusive power to the provinces for projects that are strictly within provincial boundaries, so there's no double regulation on it. That would allow us to safely and responsibly approve projects at a pace that will build our economy.
And that's probably the most annoying part about it, is the fact that conservative movements for many years have explicitly run on messaging of hope, unity, let's make sure you can make money, live a good life, do all of the things that these nations promised you to be able to do, and they get called extremist, divisive, they get called, like bootlickers or whatever the hell you want to throw in.
Oh my, she's getting nasty. No, Jasmine, here's the deal. It sounds good, and it sounded great for many, many decades, but it didn't work. The macroeconomic conservative ideology, which you're hoping to use in the present to fix the present, is the same policies that created the problem. So you're creating a real paradox here right now, because you're asking people to choose what created the problem as a fix for the problem in the present. And that's the height of ignorance, aka stupidity.
A threat to democracy, that's my favorite. And meanwhile, the people who are, one, calling you all of those names, and two, where their rhetoric is actually deepening the very destructive to our unity and society tribalism, they get a pass because it's them who said it, and they have so successfully convinced people that they're the good guys.
We've devolved to such a ridiculous place as a society that I have to be okay with the statistical likelihood of being violently murdered by a Pakistani immigrant who's come to this country illegally and is being given...
Holy moly! Didn't we discuss this at the beginning, how you've been gaslit about the criminal situation? And here she brings up more gaslighting, who's come to this country illegally and is being given federal money. So now they come to this country, so now they're using the immigration card. Secondly, they're creating a cultural divide, whether it be lesbian, gay, or brown and black people as being the problem, and crime is the problem. We just have shown how crime is a problem of the provincial governments, whether it be the Alberta government, Saskatchewan government, or Ontario government. They're conservative governments, and the crime problem you're talking about is being administered and created by conservative governments. So here we go back to that paradox. You're going to take a financial policy, you're going to take an immigration policy, and you're going to take a criminal legislation policies as being the problem, and you're going to fix the problem, but it's your creation that's created this problem. My. Can wake up anytime, folks.
federal money, but at the same time I need to be absolutely outraged and living in fear and terror about a group of men who are just proud of being white and enjoy spending time with other white people and who would like to see their group succeed, and that is supposed to make me viscerally angry. But on the other side, if I see a group of black women who own their own businesses and who only want to spend time with other black women, that should be the joy and highlight of my day. And somehow when I don't fit into this paradigm, I'm the bad guy.
So the guy who wants to take down the current system, just blow it all up, is saying the other side is really filled with hate.
And I want you to remember the fact that whoever gets there first with the fear owns the narrative. They don't need a better idea. They don't need a better record. They could do absolutely nothing. They just need to make sure that the alternative sounds scarier to you. That is how tribal mentality works.
Isn't this ironic? She's trying to scare the crap out of you. She's telling you this is the narrative that's going to work because it's going to scare the crap out of you. And I can scare the crap out of you better than anybody else. And this is why you have to get on with my tribe. You got to get on with the conservative tribe because we create fear better than anyone else. Wow, what a realization.
110%. Scared voters do not ever judge you based on outcomes. They grade you on your identity, right? And any party with a bad record has this exact same incentive, which is kind of laughable in Canada's case because it's so blatantly obvious. The difference, though, is who currently owns the fear delivery infrastructure. The media allies, the academic validation, the activist networks. Oh, right. Largely the left. I wonder why people keep voting for the left.
American, and I look for Canadian brands.
No, I think we've done a good job replacing it with Canadian alternatives.
It's hard to feel like spending the little extra money people have these days on, you know, a country full of politicians, business folks that really don't seem to, A, treat us with respect, or B, have perhaps more nefarious plan.
I'm sorry. Before we get into the rest of this story, that is so insane. Oh yeah, country and politicians who don't treat us with respect. How have you been treating them? Holy crap, Canada, wake up.
Donald Trump's a f***ing bitch, is what he is.
What makes you proud to be Canadian?
Nothing. I don't even care.
Why aren't you proud to be Canadian?
I am proud to be Canadian, so don't say I'm not.
Nothing. You just said you weren't.
No, I don't even know what I was saying. But listen, I'm just going to tell you one thing. We are grateful because we don't have Donald Trump in this country. Donald Trump, I will go on and on about this. Donald Trump's a f***ing loser. He's a f***ing bitch. He doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? So tag me in this right now.
Seriously. Canadians have been terrible to Americans forever. We've always had this weird superiority complex with America.
Oh, now it's Canadians being bad to Americans. Right, Jasmine. How much more gaslighting can you do? You know, this terrorist situation started with Donald Trump. It wasn't our fault. NAFTA, because it was a bad deal, got ripped up by Donald Trump. Then he created USMCA. Now he says whoever made that deal is an idiot. Meanwhile, it's him. He did. But, you know, the fact that he's an illiterate, a functioning illiterate, mind you, does not understand cause and effect because obviously he wouldn't make such stupid statements about a deal that he made. But that's the reality that we're dealing with. So let's, why don't we just keep going down this road? This is a rabbit hole that just goes to nowhere. Now here we have Mark Garrettson. This guy, I believe, is a federal liberal from out West Canada. Maybe Western Canada, maybe not. Don't quote me for sure on that. So the byline on this is, where is Pierre? He's got a point. Where is Pierre?
So Alberta is talking about separation. Big referendum, big stakes, big emotions. And you know who suddenly got very quiet? Pierre Poilievre and basically every Conservative MP from Alberta. Like library quiet, like tiptoe past the sleeping toddler quiet. And honestly, it's not a mystery. They're stuck in one of the world's most predictable political traps. On the one side, a good chunk of their Alberta base is fired up about a referendum. On the other side, the rest of the country who would prefer a potential prime minister not flirt with those who want to break up the country. So what do you do when both sides want opposite things? Simple. You say absolutely nothing. Because the moment that they speak, they lose someone. Speak for the referendum, and they look reckless nationally. Speak against it, and they anger a good chunk of the folks in the base of their political party. So instead, we get this very strategic, very disciplined silence, not because they don't have opinions, but because having them publicly is politically radioactive. There's no upside for them, none, only a downside. And Poilievre and his caucus are not innocent in all of this. They let this fester.
They let this fester. Daniel Smith encourages it by allowing American liquor on their shelves. Scott Moe allows for it by allowing liquor on their shelves. And Doug Ford, Dougie is in a league all his own, and we're not going to go down that road because healthcare is a disaster under him, and various other things are a disaster under him. So, folks, you got to ask this question. Are you going to keep going down this conservative rabbit hole and keep buying this non-truth? Or are you going to wake up? Yeah, you can wake up. There is a difference. So let me know in the comments section. You can either take pain and suffering or move into a position of benevolence and abundance, and it starts with you. You take action. That's how change happens. Love and peace to you all. Take care. Talk to you soon. Ciao.